There is a fantasy many of us have carried at some point in our lives. Someone wronged us, betrayed us, destroyed us, destroyed something we valued, and we imagine in the privacy of our minds what we would do if we ever had the power to make them pay. We imagine the confrontation, the moment they realize what they have done, the satisfaction of justice finally arriving. But then reality intrudes and we move on. We grow older, we forget the specifics, and life simply continues as it always does, indifferent to our grievances. Yet, what happens if we don't move on? What happens if someone actually does gain the power to make their betrayers pay? What does revenge actually feels like when the fantasy becomes real? That is the question at the heart of Alexandre Dumas's The Count of Monte Cristo. Because this isn't simply an adventure story. It's an examination of what happens to a human soul when it devotes itself entirely to vengeance. Edmond is a young man with everything ahead of him. He's going to be married. He's about to become a ship's captain. His life is beginning exactly as he imagined it. And then, in a single moment, everything is taken away from him. Betrayed by people he trusted, imprisoned without trial, abandoned by almost everyone who knew him. Not a year or two, 14. He ages in dungeon. The woman he loves married someone else. The friends he had forgotten him. The man he was supposed to become, the captain, the husband, the person with future, simply ceases to exist. When Edmund finally escapes, his anger isn't abstract, his anger is earned. Edmund emerges from prison with a fortune and a new identity, the Count of Monte Cristo, a mysterious, wealthy nobleman who arrives in Paris with no apparent purpose except to befriend the very people who destroyed his life. And here is where Dumas does something remarkable. He doesn't make revenge feel triumphant. He makes it feel like a game, a puzzle, meticulous, patient unraveling of every life that touched his. Edmund has all the resources in the world. He has the intelligence. He has the patience. He has the absolute certainty that he is right. So why does the novel begins to feel less like justice and more like something else? As we watch Edmund orchestrate the downfall of each person who wronged him, something begins to happen. The people around them start to suffer too. Innocent people, collateral damage in his carefully orchestrated plan. And Edmund, he sees it and he continues anyway. This is the moment the Count of Monte Cristo stops being about revenge and becomes about something much harder. What happens to the person when they devote their entire life to punishment? When they have waited so long for their moment that the pursuit of it has become their entire identity. Edmund had 14 years in the prison to decide who he wanted to be. He chose to become an instrument of retribution. And slowly, we begin to wonder, did he ever actually escape? There is a seductive quality to revenge in friction. We want the wronged person to win. We want them to make their betrayers pay. There is a moral clarity to that which is deeply satisfying. But Mr. Dumas asks a question that most revenge stories refuse to ask. What if being right and being good are not the same thing? What if you can be completely justified in your anger, completely accurate in your assessment of who wronged you, completely clever in your vengeance, and still be becoming someone you don't recognize? Edmund doesn't just destroy the people who betrayed him. He remakes himself in the image of their betrayal. He becomes as calculating, as relentless, as willing to sacrifice others as they were. In trying to punish them for what they took from him, something is taken from him for good. Spoiler alert, but by the end of the novel, Edmund has achieved what he set out to achieve. The people who wronged him have fallen. Justice, in a sense, has been served. But the victory doesn't feel quite as satisfying as we expected it to. Because Edmund had spent 14 years building a life around one purpose: revenge. And now that the purpose is complete, what remains? Who is he without the purpose? He is wealthy, he is powerful, he is free in every material sense. But he has also built a cage around himself. Not one with bars, but the one he walks in willingly. Every relationship is a transaction. Every gesture is calculated. There is no Edmond anymore. Only the Count playing a role that never ends. Physical prison has released him, but the prison of his own making has a much longer sentence. Maybe the question isn't whether the people who hurt us deserve punishment. They might. Maybe it's whether we want to spend the rest of our lives becoming the person who delivers it. Because revenge promises us peace. It promises us closure. It promises us that once we have made them pay, we will finally be able to move on. But what Mr. Dumas understands, and what the Count of Monte Cristo quietly suggests, is that the revenge doesn't heal wounds. It just gives them a purpose. And a wound with a purpose never quite stops bleeding. The Count of Monte Cristo is often read as a story about triumph. The wronged man gets his revenge. Justice is served. The end, the case closed. But if you sit with it longer, you realize something more complicated. That the novel is asking us to examine not whether the revenge is justified, but what it does to us when we make it a center of our lives. Maybe we can't control what others have done to us, but we can still choose what we become in the response. And that choice, that quiet, everyday choice about who we are becoming, might be the only freedom that actually matters. And with that, me Nikhil, signing off. I will meet you again soon with another book, another quiet conversation, and another cup of coffee. Until then, take care of yourself. If you get some value from this video, please do consider subscribing to the channel. Share this video with a fellow reader and keep turning the page. I thank you very much for your time.